Hey everyone, it's David Neuenhoven here, and thanks for stopping by to watch this video, basically titled, I Fell Off a Cliff and Survived. Now, it's taking me nearly 40 years to actually retell this story. I have told this story in a briefer way to a few people, but I've never told it like this, completely raw, completely unedited. And I've had people say to me, that's a really amazing story. You should share it with people. So here I am today to tell you about this story that happened to me nearly 40 years ago when I was about 17 years of age, where I fell down a cliff and I survived. But you know what? That's only like part of the story, because actually there's quite a lot more to it than that. So let me rewind and go back to the start. So I was probably 17, maybe 18 years of age, and I like riding motorcycles. I used to like riding motorcycles on the road, and I lived in Adelaide, and we used to go up on the weekends up in the hills, particularly to a place called Gorge Road. If you're familiar with Adelaide, you'd have heard of Gorge Road. And back then there wasn't really, well, there was speed limits, but we didn't really sort of pay attention to them. And I was riding probably at the time, probably a small 250 road bike. And I was riding with, I think, my brother and a couple of friends. And we'd go riding up. And this was a place to go riding. Like, it was like a motorcyclist dream, through windy hills, and there was a big dam there, and the corners were amazing. And we used to go around these corners, and it was like, how far can you lean over and scrape your knee? And we really pushed ourselves to the limits. Now, obviously, we had all the gear on. We had like our leathers and our boots and helmets and gloves and stuff, because I've always worn that sort of equipment when I was riding bikes. And we're pretty safety conscious, but we're riding motorbikes, so you always want to go for it. So we would go every weekend up in the hills, and we'd find new places to ride, and we'd go to the local cafe, and we'd stop for a coffee or a pie or something like that. And that would be our ride. And often we'd meet up with other people, or we'd go and follow other bikes, etc., etc. Anyway, we would do this regularly. As soon as the sun was out, we were up for a ride in the hills, and our poor old mother, hate to think, if she saw what she was doing, she'd be, really disappointed. But what we did is we'd ride our bikes, and like any good motorcyclist, we would be out there having a blast. So I want to just try and recreate what we actually did and how this falling off a cliff thing happened, because we were riding through these hills. And as you're riding through these hills, and if anyone's familiar with this place in Adelaide, a hill's called the Gorge Road, as you're riding through it, you're riding through these gorges, right? And these gorges are up next to you, and it makes it all really exciting. And we were doing this one day with a group of people, and we come across this guy. Actually, no, we didn't come across the guy first. We were riding through these hills, and as we were riding through, we decided to pull over at the side of the road. So we decided to pull over in this parking bay, and one of the people that was with us decided it was a good idea that we should actually climb up the side of the road on the cliffs to get a good vantage point. So we could climb up these cliffs and watch the other motorbikes and cars go past. And it was a beautiful sunny day. I think we took our lunch. We decided to climb up this cliff. Didn't think much of it at the time, and sit at the top and watch all the bikes go past. So still in my motorcycle gear, I think I put my helmet on the ground with my bike, and I'm walking up, climbing up this cliff with my boots on and my gear on. And we get to the top of this cliff, and I'm not sure how high we were. Like, it would have been at least 10 meters, if not quite a bit more. It's hard to say. And we're sitting up there, and we're having a good old time chatting about motorbikes and all sorts of things. And we're watching the bikes, and they're all like, they're down below, and they're sort of coming around the corner, and we can hear them, come around and weaving in and out. And it was a really good spot to be, and we're just enjoying our Saturday. And then we heard this bike come through, and it was really quite a loud sound. I was like, wow, this guy's really going for it. He was flying like, whoa, and we're like, oh, wow, this guy's going for it. And so we're watching this guy, and I remember we went past, it was an older bike, and all I remember was gray. And this guy went past us, and he was really going for it. We were like, wow, that guy is really going for it. Like, he's going really, really fast. So we sat up there for quite a while, maybe, I don't know, at least half an hour to an hour. And then we decided it's time to get back down, get on our bikes, and go where we're going to go. And that's where the adventure started. So what happened is that as we were climbing down, I can't remember if I was the last one to get down or the other guys had gone down first. But as I was starting to climb down, instead of like going down the longer way and then sort of making it easy, I decided I'd take a little bit of a shortcut going down the side of this cliff. And I thought, well, this looked pretty easy. And as I started to go down the cliff and I put my foot down, all of a sudden, the rock just gave way. like the rock just let go, and then that fight or flight moment come in. I felt myself falling, and I'd never experienced anything like that before. But when you're close to death, and I've heard people say this many times, it's like time stood still. So what happened was, as I started falling, I was like, oh my God, remember, this is all like this. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to die. And as I started falling, I was like, I'm going to die. This is it. Oh, I can't believe this has ended this way. I'm only 17 or 18, and I'm going to die falling off a cliff. That's literally what was going through my head. So as I started falling, and it wasn't quite a long way, because I remember putting my arms out and trying to grab like all the rocks and the bushes and stuff as I'm going down. I'm trying to grab them to slow my fall. And I'm grabbing and I'm just sliding and I'm going down. And I'm like, oh my God, this is it. Now, this only probably took 2 seconds, maybe at the most. But for me, it felt like I was falling down for about half an hour. As I'm going down, I literally relaxed my body. Like I just relaxed and thought, this is it, I'm going to die. And as I was going down, I realized that this is the end. And I just like, that's it, I'm a goner. And I think that relaxing partly saved me, right? Because I let my body go loose. And I've heard this before from people like, say, parachuting, where their parachute hasn't worked properly and they've just relaxed and somehow they've survived. And I've heard it with other circumstances. So I'm going down this cliff, I'm falling down this cliff, I'm going to die. And this is where the fun part begins. Well, not really. I'm going down this cliff, I fall down. And as I go down, my arms are sort of going like this. And I remember sort of vaguely leaning backwards thinking, I don't want to smash my head, because below was the road, right? And this is a busy road. There's cars going around all the time. I wasn't thinking about cars at the time. All I was thinking about was trying to live. And as I fell down, bam, I landed on this road. So I'm landing on this busy road that bikes and cars use. And I've landed flat, like literally on my back. And I'm like, bang. And I'm like, I'm still here. I'm still alive. I didn't hit my head. And I was like, I can't believe it, but it hurt. I mean, it hurt. I just fell down this cliff. I landed on the road and it hurt. And I was like, oh. Now, at the time, the other people, they'd actually gone around the corner. So they didn't know that I was falling down this cliff. And here I was lying in the middle of this road, this busy road, which has like a speed limit of 100 or something. And I'm lying there and I lift my head up and I look around. I'm like, I'm still alive. And I look around me. And there's all these rocks, like literally there is just rocks all around me. I brought down half the cliff with me. And I literally just lifted my head up. And as I lifted my head up, a car come around the corner, like coming straight towards me. This car's coming towards me, sees me lying in the middle of the road, slows down, right? Slows down. I'm thinking, oh, help me, please. Slows down, looks out the window, like winds the window down, looks out the window, looks at me. There's this guy lying in the middle of the road in his leathers and boots with rocks all around him. And the guy looks at me and drives off. And I'm like, what? He didn't even stop to help. And he just kept going. And I was like, wow. And at this stage, I'm in quite a bit of pain, but I don't know what sort of damage I've done. And if I've broken anything, I'm just like thankful to be here. Next thing you know, I hear this sound, right? And I hear this, and I can hear a bike coming really quickly. And I'm like, oh my God, this guy's going to come around the corner. He's going to hit me, or he's going to hit the rocks, and he's going to end up on the road like me. And I hear this noise, and just as he was coming around the corner, he must have slowed down, because he's seen my friends around the corner, and he's slowed down. Like he's seen them, he's going like, oh, I'll slow down a little bit. And he's come around the corner, and all of a sudden he's hit the brakes, and he's stopped, and he's like, and I could almost see him shake his head, and he quickly pulled his bike off the side of the road. And he walks over, he goes, are you all right, mate? Are you okay? And I'm like, I'm in a bit of pain. He looks around, he goes, well, where's your bike? I said, it's parked around the corner. He's like, how did you get here? I said, I fell down the cliff. He's like, what? I said, I fell down the cliff. He's like, I don't understand. I said, I was climbing up the cliff and I fell down. He's like, well, we need to get you off the road. He says, can you get up? And I'm like, I don't know. So anyway, he helped me and I was able to get up, and I was really bruised and battered. I didn't have any broken bones, thankfully. And he goes, are you here by yourself? I said, I'm with some friends. So anyway, we got off the road, and then he started to, I sat down because obviously, I just fell down a cliff, and he he started to move some of the rocks off the road because there was a whole bunch of debris on the road. And he goes, I'll go find your friend. So he goes off around the corner and go, because they were wondering where I was by this stage. They're like, where is he? Is he going to the toilet, or is he having a sleep, or what is he doing? And he went and found my friends and said, oh, your friend's just fallen down the cliff. So they come back. And the next thing they're around me, like, you're okay. Do you need us to call anyone? I'm testing everything. And I'm like, okay. I said, I think I'm just scratched and bruised. So what happened was that my two things that saved me, one was, well, probably three. One, that I tried to slow myself down going down the cliff. And the other one was that I was wearing all my gear. I was wearing all my motorcycle gear. So that stopped all the scratches and bruises and everything like that. And the other thing I think was because I relaxed so much when I fell. So when I landed sort of on my bum, my legs, I think my elbows and everything, like, so it all cushioned the fall. Now it is a road, so it's not really soft, but somehow it cushioned the fall. So I managed to get up and I'm limping a little bit and I'm like, anyway, so we decided we're going to get going from that point. I was having a chat to this guy. I can't remember what his name was. And he goes, well, take it easy. And I said, yeah, no worries. And so we all walked around the corner. And then he got on his bike and he rode around the corner to where my friends were. And literally it was just around the corner. And we started having a chat. And we're like, okay, blah, 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 blah. We're having a bit of a chat for about 20 minutes talking about bikes. And I said, I'll go back to my bike. I think I'm ready to go home, right? So I'm walking along. I'm all a bit stiff and I'm walking towards my bike. And next thing you know, I hear this guy start his bike up. And Ron starts his bike up and he gets on his bike and he puts it in the first gear and he just floors it. Like literally opens the clutch and he is off flying. And he goes past me. And I tell you, he must have been doing, he clicked it into second. I think it was like a 900 or something. He would have been doing like 120 kilometers an hour and he turned it into the corner. And of course, his tires are cold because he hasn't been riding it for 20 minutes or so. And as he turns it into the corner, I'm watching this. He turns into the corner and the bike just goes straight. And he goes straight into the cliff. So not the same one that I fell down. He goes into the other cliff, right? And so I've just fallen down this cliff and he goes and crashes into this cliff. And all I seen was like this bike explode and a body go flying. And I'm like, oh, like this sort of thing. And he just sort of rolled and ended up on the guardrail. And it was just, like this. And I'm like, this guy's dead. Like this guy, he can't survive that. There's no way he can survive it. And I just yelled out, top of my voice. I went like, guys, accident. And I'm like, accident, come quick. And so they come running and I'm like, I sort of didn't want to go over there because I thought the guy was dead. But we went over there, ran over there. And this guy's like lying against the guardrail like this, and blood's just dripping out of his mouth, like just dripping out of his mouth. And he's not conscious. And we're like, holy shit, right? And so someone says to me, go ring for an ambulance. Now, at the time, there was no mobile phones at this time. The only time you can make a phone call was from a payphone or from someone's house. Now, we're on a spot where there is no houses. So there's no houses. Now, by the time this happened, some more people come along and they'd stopped and the road had been literally shut by people and everyone's trying to help this guy out. I jump on my bike and I'm off down the road as quick as I can, looking for a house. And there's no houses. Like there's no houses for like 10 to 15 minutes down the road. But then I saw this side road and I remember that people lived on the side road. And I turn down the side road and I run up the side road and I'm trying to find a house and I see this driveway and I went up the driveway, jumped off my bike, banged on the door, bang, 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 bang on the door, bang, 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 bang. And I'm banging on the door, hello, 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 we need an ambulance. And a guy comes to the front door and he goes, what's going on? I said, I need you to call 000. And he goes, bike accident? I said, yeah. And he goes, yeah, okay. And it's like he knew that it was a bike accident because obviously he lived close by. And so I got on his phone and I'm like, yeah, we need an ambulance and here it is. And I'm trying to give the description of where it is. And they go, yeah, we'll send someone. So in the meantime, I jumped back on my bike, and I'm riding back to the spot, trying not to speed, obviously. And I get back to, after a few minutes, I get back to the spot, would have been a good 10 minutes. And he's not there anymore. He's gone. And I'm like, where'd he go? And they go, this guy was coming past in a van and he said, I'll take you to the hospital. And so like, who knows what this guy's injuries were? He said, I'll take you to the hospital. So apparently they loaded him up in the back of I can't remember if it was a van or a panel van or something at the time. And he drove off to the hospital apparently. And so anyway, I was like, okay. And then by this stage, a few minutes later, here comes the ambulance up the road because fortunately the ambulance wasn't too far away. And they stop and they go, who's injured? And we're like, he's gone. Like someone's taken him to the hospital. And they're like, what? Oh no. And like, yeah, someone took him to the hospital, and they go, okay. So they turn around and they go off looking for him. So anyway, this has been quite traumatic in the last hour. We've had all sorts of things. 2 people have almost died. And we're like, okay, now's the time to go home. Now, we didn't know this guy. We did get his name. We didn't obviously have a mobile number, but we knew where he lived because he told us where he lived. I think he gave someone the address. So he went off to hospital, and we're going, well, shall we go and visit him? And so we decided that we'll leave it in the ambulance's hands and see how we go. And so a couple of days later, or the next day or something like that, I can't remember what it was, is I think someone had his phone number and they rang up his wife to see if he was okay. She said, yeah, he's okay. And we went and saw him about 4 days later. And we went to visit this guy, and he's like, oh, you know, how you going? And it was really interesting because he said, the first thing he said to us, he says, oh, I'm $600 out of pocket. I said, what? And he goes, oh, the ambulance bill was $600. And I was like, oh, okay. And he never said, oh, thanks for helping me or anything like that or whatever. He just said the ambulance bill was $600. Anyway, ended up, he had a few broken ribs and I think he must have cut himself or something. It looked a lot worse than what it was, but he was able to be fully recovered. And so we never told this story to our parents or a few other people because it was so traumatic. And then, you know, I looked back on it and I was like, wow, that was a really, really crazy day. And from that point onwards, every time I went past that spot where I was on a motorbike or in a car, I was like, that's the place I fell down a cliff and almost died. So I wanted to share this story with you because I have almost died quite a few times, but this is one of the most memorable ones because, you know, it was just such a bizarre circumstance. So hope you enjoyed my story, guys. And I'm going to be sharing some more real life stories on this channel coming up soon. All right. Thanks for watching. Cheers for now. Bye.